The Washington Wizards are favored to land Alex Sarr at the number 2 overall pick. But does that mean they shouldn't draft another center? Should the Wizards sign Clint Capela? And we're going to take a look at the 51st pick and what prospect fits the Wizards at that pick. Next, on Locked On Wizards.
You are Locked On Wizards, your daily Washington Wizards podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy Brandon Scott again, and I appreciate you making Locked On Wizards your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. And tonight's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. All right, everybody. All arrows are pointing towards Alex Sarr being the guy at number 2 overall for the Washington Wizards. So we're going to look at reports about that, and we're going to kind of answer a question. Does that mean we don't add another center in the draft? What is this history, or not the history, but the future of the center position in DC? And should the Washington Wizards sign Clint Capela? There's been a connection between him and Travis Schlenk going back to the Atlanta days for Travis Schlenk. Should the Wizards take a chance on Clint Capela? And the 51st overall pick, we're going to take a look at Antonio Reeves. Can he be the guy in the second round for the Washington Wizards? So let's get into it. We're going to dive into it. Sarr to DC, is it a lock? And right now, it looks like it is a lock right now. This report is from Evan Siddery on X, a.k.a. Twitter, at the Draft Express. Evan Siddery is a insider for ESPN. And quote-unquote, it says the Hawks appear to be honing in on 2 players, Zachary Reeves or Donovan Clingan, as the preferred options atop their board. Alex Sarr will now likely slip to the Washington Wizards at the number 2 overall pick. So obviously that's good news for a lot of us who like Alex Sarr and see him as being the pick at number 2 overall. And I would love Alex Sarr here. And I think that is looking more and more like he's becoming a lock to become a Wizard. Now, there's been a lot of reports to, either A, the Atlanta Hawks like Donovan Clingan or Zachary Reeves at number 1 overall, or B, there's been reports that Atlanta might trade back with the San Antonio Spurs for the 4th and the 8th pick. So there's going to be a lot of moving pieces, especially if you look at the fact that a lot of teams in the top 10, if not the top 15, there's teams that are contending teams that are looking to add pieces to win now. If you look at the Houston Rockets at number 3, if you look at the Memphis Grizzlies number 9, the Sacramento Kings at number 13, and the Miami Heat at number 15. These are teams that are looking to trade their picks for players to help them win now. Now, you could add the Detroit Pistons at number 5. Yes, they were worse than we were, and that's saying a lot. But why would I say that they're win now? Well, obviously, with Kate Cunningham, he's getting closer and closer to that rookie scale extension. What is keeping him here long term? Now, he doesn't have to sign that extension. Detroit's a team where, they've hit a lot, they're trying to build a team around Kate Cunningham. So they very well could add a piece like, I'm just saying, Kyle Kuzma, to help them become more competitive. And as you guys know, they just fired their head coach, Monty Williams, and they still owe him 5 years of contract. So there's a lot going on in Detroit, man. So there's a lot of changes need to be made in Detroit. But hey, we here for the Wiz kids. So Alex Sarr is looking more and more likely like he's going to be a lock at number 2. So what's next? Do we still target center in the NBA draft? Because look, if you look at his scouting report, a lot of scouts are saying that Alex Sarr, yes, at 7 foot, he can play the center position. But a lot of people are seeing him as a long-term fit at the power forward position. So do you still add a center? And I'm going to say maybe, right? You could play Alex Sarr at the 5. Now, if you look at what's going on at the center position for the Washington Wizards, we have Tristan Vucevic, who is on an expiring contract because he was a second-round pick. So the Wizards signed him to a 2-year contract. So, he's going to a contract year. So this is a proven year for him, for the Wizards to sign him to an extension, which I think they have all the leverage in the world to sign him to a very, very, very team-friendly deal. So I definitely see him as a long-term piece at the center position. He's a 7-footer. So, he offensively, lot of tools in the tool bag. Defensively, you see rim protection potential, even though certain things like lateral movement, he needs work on the defensive side. But he, looking at the offensive side, obviously you like to see him add a mid-range. Definitely want to see him learn to play with his back to the basket, definitely want to learn some post moves because, again, he's a 7-foot center. So you definitely want to see him get better in the paint, but he definitely can shoot the 3-point shot, but definitely want to see him hit the mid range. But looking at the center position to DC, Marvin Bagley III, his trade value went up. Could he be moved? And even if he's not, he's an inspiring contract. Rashawn Holmes, does he enact his player option? If he does, because I think that the likelihood is he will, because will he get that amount of money on the open market? And I'm going to say no, not in the stage of his career, man. I think that the best case scenario, especially if you look at the $12.5 million that he's going to get enacting his player option, I definitely can see him enacting his player option and see if we can get the trade value up, and maybe he's dealt at the deadline. And either way, 2 out of the 3 centers we already have on the roster are aspiring contracts. Now, you can say 3 with Tristan Vucevic, but again, they have the leverage to sign him to a team-friendly deal as far as an extension. So I could definitely see him being retained because he is definitely a nice piece for the future. I like Tristan Vucevic, and yes, the sample size is small, but to me, he's shown enough to prove that he could be a long-term piece in DC at the center position. But the other 2 gentlemen, Marvin Bagley III and Rashawn Holmes, are inspiring deals. So I definitely think we need to add another center, in my opinion. Now, for us to be able to do that, we would have to trade back into the first round. Now, could they? Yes. Will they? We don't know yet. There has not been a clear indication what Will Dawkins and company is going to do as far as trading back in or trading back. On the last episode, we talked about the potential that if we don't land Alex Sarr, do we trade back for 4 and 8? And I said, look, if we don't land Alex Sarr, you definitely trade back for 4 and 8. But if we have a chance to get Alex Sarr, which is my number 1 prospect on my draft board, you definitely take that chance. Now, I still think we need to trade back into the lottery and keep the 26th overall pick and the 51st, because I would like to see us come out of this draft with 3 to 4 young prospects to add to the mix for the rebuild. So at 26, obviously, Khalil Ware ain't gonna be there, and he might slide, but at 26, you're not gonna see Zach Edey, in my opinion, because I don't think he gets past 15 to the Miami Heat. So you're looking at Yves, Missy. So you guys comment below. Would you like the Wizards to take a chance on Yves Missy out of Baylor with the 26th overall pick? Because I think that, and I'm not saying it's a given we have to go get another center. Because, again, Alex Sarr could play the center position. And then the fact that he can play the 4, and a lot of people think that he's better suited to play the 4, you still got centers on the roster, and Marvin Bagley III, Rashawn Holmes, and Tristan Vucevic, where you don't necessarily have to go out and get that center because you have Alex Sarr, who, again, he can play center and play the power forward position. So if you get Sarr, I'm 50-50 with it. Maybe if you trade back in, maybe you grab a Khalil Ware, because, again, Marvin Bagley III and Rashawn Holmes are expiring contracts. So you would like the center position to have at least 2 to 3 guys. Tristan Vucevic, maybe pick up a Khalil Ware or a Zach Edey. And Alex Sarr, it really depends on the front office. Do they view him as the better fit at the center position? Do they view him as maybe a better fit at the power forward position? And potentially in a couple of years, where if you develop him right, you develop Tristan Vucevic or another 7-foot center right, you could potentially have a tall lineup with a 7-footer at both the 4 and the 5. Now, not everybody's in love with the tall lineups. A lot of people hate or love what's going on in Cleveland with Evan Mobley at the power forward and with Jared Allen at the 5. And it doesn't seem to be working too much, because right now it's rumored that Jared Allen could be on the trade block. So, there's plus and minuses to a taller lineup. But here's the thing about that. One of the things that Wesley Sell Jr. didn't do, which is tinker with the starting lineup. If you look at a team like the Wizards, where we have a lot of players on this team that are versatile, can play multiple positions. If Brian Keefe can game plan and really use that to his advantage to utilize matchups, you can go, with Alex Sarr and his capability to play the 4 and the 5, that adds to the lure of actually game planning. Not every lineup you can put him at the 4. There's lineups where you can put him at the 5. So I think that Alex Sarr, with his pick at number 2, you don't necessarily have to go out there and grab another center. You could grab Missy at 26, because I think he definitely will be available at 26. But you could probably go in another direction. You don't have to really make that move, because, again, there's a lot of versatility with Alex Sarr, with his ability to play the 5 and the 4. So that's kind of where I'm at. You guys comment below. Let me know what you're thinking. If we grab Alex Sarr, which looks like we're probably going to do. I said it before. I believe there was a 95% chance, and I stand by that. I'm going to elevate this thing. I think there's a 98% chance we get Alex Sarr, because I think that, yes, you can say there's smoke and mirrors. Now, Could Atlanta in fact, be in love with Alex Sarr and be using smoke and mirrors to kind of, catch teams off guard? You can see that. With the draft, with free agency, with the trade market, there's always smoke and mirrors. And they very well could be picking Alex Sarr with number one. So, and as you guys know, I've looked at every possible outcome. I looked at most prospects, and I'm going to look at more because the draft is next week. I ain't done with the draft content yet, but the Wizards could definitely go in other directions. But, you know, smoke and mirrors, yes, but I think there's a lot to the reports, man. Reese Shea, I think, him and Klingon would be good fits with what Atlanta's trying to do, which Atlanta is kind of in flux, right? Because, they have to trade Trae Young or DeJounte Murray. They have young players in Kobe Buffkin, Jalen Johnson, Clint Capela could be on his way up. So Jonathan Klingon could be a really nice addition to a young Atlanta Hawks team that, yeah, they're young, but they still have a point guard in the DeJounte Murray or Trae Young. So Reese Shea could fit. So there's a lot of possibilities, but I definitely think it's more than smoke and mirrors. I think that Atlanta could be leaning towards Reese Shea and Klingon. And I think that there's a 95, that 98% chance that Alex Sarr is going to be a Wizard. And I think that, saying that, we don't really need to go out there and really go get another center in the draft, in my opinion. Now, you could, again, Yves Missy, it will be available at 26, but we don't need to reach to go get Khalil Ware or Zach Edey. I think that Alex Sarr, again, whether he's a long-term 5 or 4, he's going to be starting on the second unit anyways, depending on future moves. Now, if Kyle Kuzma's moved, we'll see how they fill the gap at the 4. Do they slide Denny there? Do they play Marvin Bagley III there? And again, we have versatility. There could be matchups where Marvin Bagley III could be the power forward, and there's matchups where Denny Avdia could be the power forward. And that's the biggest takeaway from this, everybody, is that the Washington Wizards have versatility. They have players who can play multiple positions. We can finally game plan and not go the Wes Unseld Jr. route, which is just roll out the same starting lineup every night. No, Brian Keefe can mismatch and actually game plan. So I think that with Alex Sarr being versatile, adding to the fact that we have players on the roster who are also versatile, that adds the capabilities to this team, and I like that going forward. So we're going to talk about Clint Capela. Right? Clint Capela. Could Clint Capela be a fit in DC? Why and why not? But before we do, tonight's episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. So, passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day long? Have to turn on the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. All right, let's get into it. Clint Capela. Now, obviously, there is a connection between Clint Capela. I don't know why I can't say his name today, guys. Clint Capela and Travis Schlenk, who formerly was an executive with the Atlanta Hawks. So let's take a look at the report real quick behind Clint Capela. All right, and this is through the NBA Central at the Dunk Central on Twitter, aka X. And it says the Hawks are expected to trade one of Trae Young or DeJounte Murray, but not both. They'll keep one to build around. Clint Capela is a popular trade target for the Grizzlies, Wizards, Pelicans, and Bulls, having expressed interest. So let's take a look at that. Would you take a chance on Clint Capela? And I'm going to say no. Now, it's not to say I don't like Clint Capela, because I'm a big fan of his game. And it's been years, probably the last 5 to 10 years, especially in the John Wall era, man, where I advocated that we maybe make a run at Clint Capela. And I say 5 to 10. I don't know if he's been here 10 years, but it's been a while now that I advocated that the Wizards should express interest in trading for Clint Capela. Why? Rim protection, which is something that we sorely lacked, man, for a long time in DC, in my opinion. So, but would I make a move for Clint Capela now? No. If we add a center, I definitely think it needs to be through the draft. Now, there was comments made that, he could be brought here for leadership, and I get all that because that's a big thing. Why Kyle Kuzma's here, leadership, being a veteran leader voice. Anthony Gill's been a leader. And you definitely see younger guys on the roster who need to step up and be leaders, especially if they want to be long-term pieces in Denny Avia and Jordan Poole. But Clint Capela at this stage in his career, man, and I get it, he's not really that old, but he doesn't fit the timeline in DC, in my opinion. And he's yes, the rim protection, the leadership, yes, those are great components to him. But I'd rather add center in the draft, whether Alex Sarr at 2 or whatever direction we decide to go. But I think that if we're going to add a center in this draft or add a center in this offseason, it needs to be via the NBA draft and not in free agency. Because again, I don't see us being very active in free agency. Because the fact of the matter is we have relatively a full roster. Now, obviously, there's going to be new moves that are going to need to be made. Tyus Jones, is he retained or is he allowed to walk for nothing? Even if he does not come back to DC, do the Wizards do a sign and trade? Looking at Kyle Kuzma, yes, his contract is team friendly, but it is also friendly for teams that look, they want to add a score and not break the bank to do so. So it's a double-edged sword. It is a team friendly deal, not only for the Wizards, but for other teams who want to add a score and not break the bank to do so, right? Landry Shamet, non-guaranteed contract next year. Yes, he's still on contract, but it is non-guaranteed. He very well could walk. If you look at players like Eugene Amarui and Jared Butler, they were signed to NBA standard contracts, or Jared Butler was, but it's non-guaranteed. So right now, hate it or love it, I'm a big Jared Butler fan, but it's not guaranteed he comes back because, again, his contract's not guaranteed. So there's a lot of flexibility with the Wizards. But do we add a piece like Clint Capela? And I'm going to say no, man. I mean, at this stage in his career, at the stage of the process of what the Wizards are going through, which is a rebuild, a real rebuild, he doesn't fit the timeline. And I think that if you add a center in this offseason for the Wizards, you definitely do it via the NBA draft. You don't do it in free agency because, there's been other names linked to the Wizards to a certain degree. Nicholas Claxton, not so much. But Clint Capela, you see the connection because, again, Travis Schlenk was formerly of the Atlanta Hawks. So it's kind of like Josh Giddey and the rumors which connect him to Will Dawkins. Relationships matter in the NBA, especially with executives, players. If you look at the fact that, players like Kyle Kuzma and Jordan Poole, with their links to other organizations, the Wizards are trying to build an organization where, people want to come here. So, eventually we are going to be a hub of free agents. Now, obviously the core, the majority of our roster is going to be built through the draft, but I do think we will be a destination for free agents down the road because people are taking notice of what this team's doing. The new revamped scouting department, the coaching staff that values development, the front office that, again, values development and acquiring young picks or young players and picks. So we have checked all the boxes for an organization that's on the rise. We're in the early stages of it, but we definitely have hit all or checked all the boxes for what an organization wants to have as far as a foundation for a team that's looking towards the future. So for all those reasons alone, I don't think that Clint Capela would be a fit here in DC. Now, yeah, the relationship with Travis Schlenk does matter. Again, just like Josh Giddey and his relationship with Will Dawkins dating back to Oklahoma City. But Clint Capela at this stage, man, I think if you're going to put a center out there, I'm cool with Rashawn Holmes and Marvin Bagley III for 1 year. Now, after 1 year, I don't know. Now, Marvin Bagley III is kind of like Tristan Vucevic, where it's kind of a prove it season, right? Marvin Bagley III, at his age, he fits the timeline, but due to injuries and question marks of, a lack of a motor, which I haven't seen those issues in DC yet. He's came into DC and he's played with a high motor so far. But if you look at back in the Sacramento King days and the Detroit Piston days with Marvin Bagley III, the biggest knock against him was a low motor, low confidence, low motor. So, but all in all, we have 1 year of Marvin Bagley III and Rashawn Holmes, at least 1 year, right? Especially with Marvin Bagley III. We'll see. Because if he performs, he very well could be part of the future. But, saying that, I'm cool with the veterans we have at center right now, especially if Rashawn Holmes comes back. Because, again, it's only for 1 year. But, with Tristan Vucevic and potentially Alex Sarr, I think we're good at center, man. We'll see. Next year, is definitely the Cooper Flag in draft. Everybody's saying Cooper Flag a bust. I would love Cooper Flag, but I would not make it to where it's Cooper Flag a bust, man. There's definitely other prospects in the 2025 draft that can definitely be high impact players for the Washington Wizards. So, but I would love Cooper Flag, but we'll see. So, in short, I'm gonna say no to Clint Capela. I like him as a player, but not right now. Not in the stage of his career, and not with what the Wizards are trying to do. I think we're good with Marvin Bagley III, with Rashawn Holmes and Tristan Vucevic for next year. And Alex Sarr, obviously is a guy who could be the long-term five, if not a four. And but I think that we could possibly add in the future, but not right now. I think we're good on the Clint Capella front. So we're going to talk about the 51st pick. And Antonio Reeves is a guy that I think could definitely be an option for us at the 51st overall pick in this year's NBA draft. But before we talk about him, tonight's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. So summertime means baseball. The NBA finals are over, but you can still bet it all on FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 you can use to bet on everything from the finals MVP to who's going to hit one out of the ballpark. So all you have to do is visit FanDuel.com/locked on and add a big win to your summer bucket list. FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. All right, let's get back into it. Let's round this thing out. Antonio Reeves is a guy that I think that at the 51st overall pick, we should definitely take a look at him, man, because he is a very, very intriguing prospect. And it's not because I'm biased, because I'm a Kentucky fan. I think the kid can play some ball. So let's take a look at Antonio Reeves of the University of Kentucky, because again, I am a big Kentucky guy. All right, looking at his intangibles, he is 6'4", about 6'4.5", with a 6'8" wingspan. So for a guy that's 6'4.5", the wingspan of a 6'8", not too shabby. 186 pounds. His agent is Sam Rise out of CAA, and he's formerly out of Kentucky. That is. So looking at his stats from this previous season, he averaged 20.2 points a game, 4.3 rebounds, 4.3 assists, 0.7 blocks, but 1.7 steals a game. He shot 50% from the field, 44% from three, and 88% from the foul line. So before we get into pros and cons, strengths and weaknesses, what do I like about his stat line? Number one, 20 points a game. He's a guy who's definitely an offensive-minded guard. Now, looking at his size, where would I play him? And we're going to take a look at his pluses and minuses before I really say if he could be a point guard or a two guard or on the size 3. But just purely looking at his stats, 20 points a game shows me that he can score. With a team like Kentucky, man, in the SEC, that tells you something, because the level of competition is up there, in my opinion, in the SEC as far as basketball. I mean, not just, sports period, because they're running in football too. But averaging 4.3 rounds and 4.3 assists. Not bad rebounds for a guy who's 6'4". 4.3 rounds. Like to see it go up to 5. Assist numbers, depending on whether he plays two guard or point. Kind of will see if I want his assist numbers to go up, but not bad. Blocks, he's 6'4". There's players in this draft who their block numbers are better, but it's not bad. But 1.7 steals a game is what really shoots out to me, man, because it shows me that he's a guy who's going to get very active in passing lanes and try to get the turnovers, man. So 50% for the field. Again, league average is around 45%. So he definitely shoots well above league average from field goal percentage. 44% from three. Lord have mercy. I mean, we're looking for somebody. The league average is around 35 to 36%. So he shot 44%. So he's a sniper, which you can never have enough shooters, man. And he's a guy that if you grab him with the 51st overall pick, you get a shooter, man, on the second unit who can definitely be a sniper. And 88% from the charity strike, for a guy, 88% is money. So I like what I see from the stat line. So looking at his pros and cons and his strengths and weaknesses, what are some things I like about Antonio Reeves? Well, number one, versatility. I said it time and time again that this front office is going to target versatility in the draft. And this is a team that really leans on versatility. If you look at guys already on the roster, Denny Avia, with his ability to play 2-3 different positions, and he can guard all 5. Same thing with Bilal Coulibaly, with his ability to probably guard all 5, maybe 1 through 4, with Bilal. But versatility is the name of the game for the Wizards. What else do I like? Obviously, his 3-point shot. He is a sniper, high volume 3-point shooter, which is desperately needed in DC because, we got Corey Kispert is primarily our shooter, man. We need more shooters, in my opinion. Another thing I like is his confidence. He has confidence in his shot. Even when he misses, he keeps shooting. Now, is that always a good thing? Now, if you look at the efficiency issues we have with Jordan Poole and Kyle Kuzma, sometimes, bad efficiency hits. But you like confidence, especially with young players, man, because eventually the shot's going to drop to a certain degree, right? Having the confidence even when he misses says a lot about him, man. So he's a very confident player, especially in the shot. When he misses, you don't really see him leave his shot. He still shoots the ball. So yes, he can get streaky, but he can also get very streaky hot when it comes to his shot. One more thing I like about Antonio Reeves, man, is his footwork. You don't preach a lot about footwork, especially American-born players, because I've said it time and time again. These guys coming from Europe, these guys know the fundamentals of basketball, footwork, which is something that AAU doesn't teach anymore. Which is, they're teaching these kids to be able to dunk and do all these, highlight real stuff and shooting logo threes, but kids now don't know how to use a pivot foot. So the fact that he's very polished as far as his footwork says a lot about what they're teaching them in Kentucky. Because again, schools like Kentucky, Gonzaga, these places are getting these guys ready to play high level basketball. Why? Because they're teaching them the fundamentals, man. So I think that's one thing I do like about Antonio Reeves, man, because his fundamentals, man, his footwork are money. All right, so with every pro, there is a con. So what are things that I don't like about Antonio Reeves? Well, you shouldn't looking at his shot, and I kind of said it before. Inconsistent efficiency as a high volume 3-point shooter. He is definitely a high volume 3-point shooter, but at times he can suffer from inconsistency and problems with efficiency, which, as we know, we had this problem with Kyle Kuzma and Jordan Poole, which both of them are high level scorers in the NBA, but they've had issues with efficiency. And it's definitely something that you saw Jordan Poole work on in the second half of the season. And it's definitely something you saw Kyle Kuzma work on in the second half of the season, where they both know that for them to get other people around them involved, they've got to become more efficient. They've got to shoot more high percentage shots, and they got to learn not to take every shot they see. So that's one thing you see with Antonio Reeves, man, is that his efficiency can take a hit, man. Now, a couple other things that are weaknesses for Antonio Reeves. Is he good enough at any one skill to really be a high level NBA role player? And that's a big question mark for him. I mean, is that, yes, he's a sniper. Yes, he can shoot the 3-point shot, but what other areas of his game can translate to the NBA? And right now is very murky. And that's why I'm saying he fits best in the second round. Very raw, very developmental piece. With the right system, the right environment, the right coaching staff, I believe he can add other parts to his game. Maybe see if he can be a playmaker. But right now he's a sniper. He's a catch and shoot 3-point shooter. So right now the question marks is, can he develop a skill outside of being a shooting specialist? And we'll see, man. We'll definitely see on that. But I definitely think he's worth a look at the 31st overall pick, in my opinion. So that's where I'm at. I think that at number 51 overall in the second round, last year proved with Tristan Vucevic was proven that Will Dawkins knows how to find the diamonds in the rough in the second round. Gone are the days are Yannick Zosa, which he's on the milk carton. We don't even know where he's at right now. So the fact that our second round pick actually played minutes shows you that the Washington Wizards' new front office is prioritizing not only the first round talent, but they're looking to make solid additions in the second round. And in Antonio Reeves, in my opinion, raw, yes. Very limited, yes. But he is definitely a look at the 51st overall pick, in my opinion. So comment below. Let me know what you guys are thinking about everything we covered today. How excited are you about the prospect of Alex Sarr coming to DC? And do you see him as a long-term 5 or a long-term 4? Clint Capela, would you like him here? Why and why not? And with the 51st overall pick, would Antonio Reeves be a prospect for you? Man, we'll see, because the Wizards did bring him in for a workout. So Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's also available on Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channels app. So again, comment below. Let me know what you guys are thinking. Hail to the Wizards, and see you guys next time. Peace.